we don't have an educational system that allows us to think outside the box. We are being taught to be good employees, not to be good businessmen and women. So by the time we want to go into the industry and do whatever it is that we want to do, we are also negotiating from a hunger departure point, which is not a good place to negotiate from, you know. So it means that even if today Absa Nedbank said, we will fund movies, we will do all of these things, it means they have to trust you with their money. But you have not gotten your learner's license, you don't have your driving license, they give you a car, you are more likely going to crash that vehicle. So for me, money isn't the quick solution. It is in us teaching the kids what needs to happen in the arts.
Hello everyone, welcome to another tantalizing episode of the Film Biz Show, the only show where we delve into industry professionals' minds to get their insights on the current landscape of the film and television business, both in South Africa and internationally.
Please subscribe, like, comment, and turn on the notification button so you are aware of our future episodes that you will love so much.
Today, we're shifting the focus a bit, diving into a side of the business that fuels the creative magic that we see on screen. Finance might seem like just numbers and spreadsheets, but trust me, it plays a pivotal role in getting any project off the ground. Our guest today is our financial manager, whose expertise spans from reality TV powerhouses like Bar Leader TV to the iconic Destiny and Destiny Man magazines. He understands the cost of bringing vision to life and how to manage those crucial budgets. Get ready for some fascinating insider perspectives on the real business of the film and television industry and entertainment. Let's welcome Karabo Mbokota. Welcome to the Film Biz Show, brother.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you for being here. Yeah, a lot of people don't actually know that your AK is DJ Mboki, and on the side you play, you're on the ones and twos.
Yeah.
But first time I met you, I saw a DJ. I did not see a accountant.
I know.
I saw an entertainer. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I mean, what is it that got you into this space? Where did just the journey start?
Funny enough, I got into it by mistake.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was a factory accountant. I was looking after payroll, casual labors, costing in a factory. But I was not happy at the time. So I was looking for a new job, a new challenge. And I landed a job at Endemol. Initially, I thought it was just another production company because they were looking for a production accountant. So in my head, I was already working as a production accountant. So I thought I'm literally doing a lateral move, only to discover that it's a whole new ball game. Different ball game. But lucky for me and a lady that joined the company in that same year, same month, we were then taken through the business by a guy by the name of Gareth Gardner. Amazing white gent. He taught us how you go about the costing that happens in the entertainment business versus the corporate type of accounting that I was doing. And from then on, you get to work on your first production. And well, I mean, goes without saying, I struggled the first two productions. However, after that, I found my feet and I was able to fly solo for the rest of the projects that I did. Unfortunately, Endemol merged with another company. They became Endemol Shine, but that came with it also going down. And yeah, retrenchments were looming, and we eventually had to find our ways to new production houses. But the funny part with me was I got retrenched first, got my severance pay, and I was sitting at home, and I'm watching an episode of Dineo, the first reality show with Dineo.
Oh, yeah.
Teranakas, right?
Yes.
And there's a squabble happening, but the cameras didn't stop rolling. And in that, I see someone I know on the screen. And I check my phone, I still have their number.
Yeah.
I give them a call and they say, yo, actually, I'm currently a producer and I've been looking for that skill.
My goodness. This is crazy.
Yeah, actually, this is like what, a week after retrenchment. So I go meet up with the gent. He's an amazing creative. I get there, we discuss the terms and conditions of our engagement, and I start working for the business. And from then on, I mean, like they all say, the rest is history.
The rest is history. That's so interesting. That really is interesting. But can you describe more? I mean, you mentioned that it was like a culture shock when you got into the creative space, but what are some of those, intricate details or differences between normal corporate accounting and accounting for a production company?
Well, number one, it's the fact that you're now working with big personalities, and now you're working with creatives. Where I came from, I sat in a corner office and I just did my work. Just captured the things, make sure they balance, generate a report, and that was it. But now when I got into the production space, you are now actively involved in this production thing. You are managing petty caches, you are fighting with people over the fact that they overspend on certain items, and you have a line producer that has to keep a balance between you and the creators, because he is the connecting piece between finance and creative. The creatives are talking about getting a helicopter in and dropping someone by the helicopter with a parachute. And I'm reading this on an email. For me, I've already calculated that we don't have that money. So my answer is a no. But the line producer comes to me and says, no. I've worked the budget such that we can save a couple of rents here and there. This way we can afford to bring in the helicopter. This is where I was, where it's an email that comes to you. We would like to spend A, B, C, D we'd like to spend money on A, B, C, D, and D. And you just say, no, guys, you don't have a budget for this year. It was not put in the fiscal. You should have preempted this thing last year when we did financials. You didn't. So it's not here. There, everything is project to project, unless you are lucky enough to have things like a telenovela that runs over a number of years. Otherwise, you're literally living from production to production.
Yeah. I mean, which brings me to, my next question. And most of the time, people see the producers as the money people. That's the money guy that you go to. But how much power do you have with regards to how money is used? Do you advise the line producers, or can you veto financial issues to protect the actual account?
So the weird part is that the producer is someone that puts together an idea, goes to a broadcaster or a streaming, business, and says, listen, guys, I've got this idea. They nurture that idea, and then they bring it to life, and eventually they get to a point where they get a commission. Once they get the commission, they sign on the dotted paper that they will produce this at a particular amount of money. After that, it's all left in the finance department as well as production with the line producer. Now the producer is not even part of the production. They're working on new ideas. But if you have a producer that's actually working in that particular production on a day-to-day, then you have a situation where you have to now interrogate the budget. More often than not, you find out it's not enough. Remember, this is a negotiation. I have an idea, I want to bring it to life. You feel that I can do it for 4, even though I had suggested that I can do it for 8, for 8 million then is. So we come to a middle ground, we agree on a 5 million, for example. Cool, you bring it in. Now that we sit here, the producer needs to get an executive producer fee, which is a monthly salary. Let's say the producer is just one person. He or she will then say, look, I also work on the creative. Then you'll also give them another line item. But in that, you still need to subtract your production fee and make sure that people understand what you're working with. So you're working with 5 million less the production fee. So that's what you can negotiate on. Your line producer comes with relationships, whether it be from gear houses, agents, and they start negotiating rates. They come back and they say, look, we've done our best. At this point, we are probably saving R1 million just for simplicity. We're saving R1 million, and we say, okay, cool. If you're going to save R1 million, does this also mean that you are going to take time in finessing the final product? Because once you save that money, you also say to the broadcaster, I can actually do it for lesser. So if you get a second a recommission or a second season of something, they'll go back to those financials and say, but you did it on 4. This is the 5 that we gave you. So it's okay to reduce it.
Goodness.
Right. In other instances, they negotiate and they come back and they say, yo, this is how much we are in the rate. We're in the rate by R1 million, again, for simplicity. Then you go back to them and you say, guys, I've interrogated some of these contracts you plan on getting into. I feel like you can save here. I feel like maybe you can double up here. This person is literally just coming in once a week. How about we get them to also do other things so that we can save a bit of money in there? So we work on it before we start shooting, before we start contracting people. And now that we come to a situation where we are okay, we're either breaking even or saving a bit of money just to give ourselves a buffer or contingency, then we go into contracting, and then we bring in the right skills to come help us bring you this magic. Then we go into production. As you go into production, there's so many things that could go wrong. People abscond with petty caches. You have an outside shoot, there's the rain. You have an outside shoot, there's a strike. So there's so many moving pieces during production that you need a strong team who can easily say, look, guys, there's a strike here, we can't shoot here, but because we already booked the talent. And I mean, the example I'm making right now is the drama, right? It's not a reality show. Because with the reality show, you can easily just say, okay, we can't do this thing here. Let's move it to a park.
Because reality shows are very real, children.
Yeah. And right. But if you're doing a drama, if we have to shoot in this studio and there's a strike here, that means no one can come in here. That means you've already lost the money. You've lost a lot of money, right? So it means now, if you don't have a bit of contingency, like I said earlier, that means now you go into your production fee. Remember, the production fee, that's your markup on this project. But once you go over and above what you've been given to spend on this production, it now means that it's going to hit you in your pocket. Sometimes things have gone as bad as executives not getting paid.
Oh, no.
Because we're at a point where we need to finish a project and we are 100K in the red, and the executive producers need 50K. They say, no, it's fine, don't pay me this month and next month. I'll just figure it out when the production fee comes in. And another issue is that the production fee doesn't come in quickly. At the end of the production, you have to deliver all 13 episodes, and then you also need to deliver archiving material. So the archiving material is just as important as the production, because that's what they use. This is a broadcaster now. That's what they use to sell the shows to other countries, other platforms. So they would need time dialogue sheets, the worst things, final cost reports, ledgers, full inventory list, and all of those things. And you can imagine, if there's two people receiving all this information, this thing might take about 2, 3, 4 months. Right? So that's where I come in. That's where I need to manage the funds such that in those dips, when there's a bit of a recession in the line of business that we do, you need to have something that can carry you throughout. So normally this would come from a production fee that you got from a previous production, where you bring it in and you say half of it goes into the kitty, and then the other half you just give it to the executive producer as their markup. But in a situation where you don't have a first season of something, or you don't have anything else going, it literally means that you might leave a production worse off. So that's where I come in. That's where I make sure that that doesn't happen. And even in instances where you can see that this is where we're headed, you quickly raise the alarm, you sound the alarms as soon as you possibly can, so that you can pivot. And in instances where you can't pivot, you then need to find other ways. Either you push to get another commission to run concurrently, so that you can balance things out. This should have been a conversation, not me scaring you.
You can see I'm scared.
Yeah, I can see. Right. So what then tends to happen is, when you don't have my function in the business, that's the worst case scenario that I've just given you. But in my situation, remember, I come from the school of Endemol, where there were proper structures. So I then moved on from being a production accountant to being a financial controller and a financial manager. That now means that you have a production accountant that I work with. They are the ones that are capturing stuff. I'm doing the review, moving around things on the cost report so that it looks better, it reads better, and all those type of things, right? And I know how to report back to clients, right? So what you then also need to consider is the fact that in the past, what you would normally do as a production accountant is you would think of the business. Remember, I just spoke about the downer, in between productions. You would think about the business more than you would think about the production.
True.
And then obviously the broadcasters that having a problem with that, where they said, but no, the production accountants aren't looking after the production. They're looking after the business more. So they are more likely to, further the interest of the business
Then the production.
And then you find out talent comes out and says, yeah, I've not been paid. The reason they've not been paid is because you took money, you put in a call account, you're earning interest on that money. And now to pull it out, you need to give notice. Now you're trying to negotiate with talent. Like, no, but I'm going to pay you on this particular day, So what then happened is that you then realize that there was a need to actually step away from the day-to-day production accounting function. So you need to let someone look after the production, and then you look after the other parts of the business. What a lot of people don't understand is that it works better when you own the value chain.
Yeah.
I mean, it applies in any business, really. Now we get into the habit of building post-production facilities within the same production companies we work for. We invest in buying vehicles, we invest in buying camera equipment, lighting equipment, rigs, all of these things that go into making a production. So my role in the business now has less to do with the production part of the project. It has more to do with looking after the business and making sure the business is healthy, whether it be from a SaaS point of view to just being a gear house. In as much as you don't hire out your gear, but you need to make sure that your gear is always ready to shoot. It's well serviced. It's being upgraded and when it needs to be upgraded. So you then tend to look after the business from that point of view, and in making sure that the business is healthy and making sure that with the business being that healthy, you can deliver better products to whatever client you're doing business with.
So, you could also be called, an ops manager because the money is what runs an institution like a production company, and you have to see where the money is going. And obviously the money goes to operations, and you are managing the process of where the money goes and how it flows.
No, definitely. And more than just knowing where the money goes, you actually need to make sure that it gets to where it needs to go. I mean, just last night we were sensitized to a KPMG situation where as the business, you know that things are happening, but you've not gone the extra mile in making sure that it's gotten to the people it needs to get to. So in as much as there's a line producer, there's a production accountant, I will still have to go and review the transactions that are happening. I'm still the one that's running the bank. So they are running the reporting part, they're running parts about the expenses, putting together the expenditure for the month and all of those things. And I'm the one to say, whoa, you cannot shoot 10 days this month. You can only shoot 3 days because your production hasn't paid or your production is now quickly running out of money. However, if you have concurrent productions running, someone else, another line producer, might have a healthier budget and they are managing their money better than the other one. So you say they can afford to shoot 10 days, but you can't. So those are the things that you need to manage and make sure that you are getting right. Otherwise, you'll find situations where you've authorized the payment and someone calls you and says, yeah, I'm still waiting for the money. And you're like, no, but we did payments last week. And they say, but I didn't get my money. Yeah. Who are you? Give me your backstory, put it on the email, send me the supporting documents. Now you said it says they're markers, and I go into the bank, I check, but I did pay in markers. And then I check the bank account. Wait a minute. This bank is Nedbank. The other one is Capitec. Now there's a problem. What are the chances that you get that money back?
0.
Exactly.
You just lost.
So that's where I'm pivotal for the business. And I'm saying this, we just literally just got a situation on Thursday just before Easter where I was given an invoice. I said, okay, cool, load this. I'm well aware of this invoice, this expense. Yeah, happiness. And then they gave me a last invoice to load. And I said, wait a minute. I've seen these numbers before. I pulled both invoices. We did a check. Said, no, there's no way. Same person is invoicing for things that they don't even have, don't even own, didn't even deliver. Now we had to investigate what happened. And it was worst case scenario. Someone tried to screw us out of money. And even when we tried to address the issue with them and try to get information out of them so that we know exactly who was trying to do this within the organization, they didn't want to come through with the information. And lucky enough, we discovered that it was not from us here in the production, but it was someone that had seen an opportunity to try and do something like this. But between the line producer and the production accountant, it would have gone. had I not played my role as the financial controller and the financial manager in making sure that the final checks are done, the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted. So that's very important for a production company or any business for that matter.
You do mention the importance of owning the value chain as a company. And, I always have debates with some of my colleagues where they're like, oh no, these production companies make so much profit. And I don't think they really understand the model in which, companies, especially locally, are working, how the actual commissioning structure works, that there's a certain percentage of the overall production budget, just production budget, in which is the production fee. And but even with that markup, can you, in accounting terms, call it profit?
Let's be honest. The money will never be enough.
No.
It'll never be enough.
Yeah.
It's really about finding middle ground. It's really about you saying, look, I asked for 8 million. I was commissioned for 4. What do I cut out? There are exercises that you would do if you're shooting a drama.
Yeah.
I've seen this with my current boss. This guy's passionate about what he does.
Oh, yeah.
They will sit and start cutting out scenes that you necessarily don't need to still tell the story. Because when you initially pitch something, it's a grand idea. And someone likes it and they want it in a particular way. But now that you sit with the money, you then realize that, wait a minute, I can't drop someone off a helicopter. They'd rather just jump off a bridge. Do you get what I mean? Those are the things that you sit through with creators. And this is something you ordinarily would never do if you're working in a corporate, accounting firm. And you normally wouldn't do those type of things. But here, you literally sit sometimes in creative meetings, they're discussing what they're going to cut out so that we can at least make sure that we're shooting lesser days. We have a week of contingencies. Sometimes you can't even afford the talent. So you need to cut out certain things. So in as much as someone saying to you, oh, I got a 12 million rand commission, it might sound like it's a lot of money, but when you then look at what they need to produce for this 12,000, you realize that actually it's not a lot of money. And yes, there's a production fee that you get from the approved budget, right? That's your markup. That's what you get for doing a great job. The problem is whatever is left for you to do the production then has to go to a lot of third parties. You have to go negotiate gear. You negotiate almost everything. And if you don't own the value chain, if something is going over, it's already going over in the first 2 months of production if you're shooting more than that. So that already tells you that, snap, I might need to dig into that production fee. I might not get the full production fee because I'm already incurring costs that I didn't account for. Like I said, the rain happens. They tell you that it's going to be a sunny day. 12:30, boom, it rains. You can't shoot. It's a day lost. That means you have to book the same crew, same talent on a different day and still pay for the very same park you're shooting at because that's a location fee. Do you get what I mean? So it then means that if you don't own your value chain, you can't make certain assertions. So for example, let's say you own your post-production facilities, you own your cameras, you own your vehicles. It means for all the other days that you had to shoot outside the budget, now over and above what you had, you're not going to charge yourself for using your own gear. And not because you shouldn't, because it's a bad thing, or no, it's simply you needing to get to point B.
Yeah.
You've already started. You need to finish off this thing. And don't get me wrong. When I own the stuff, I should invoice for the stuff.
True.
I should put in my internal recoveries because I've incurred debt in trying to get those things into the business. And now that they're here, I can't use them for free. But when the situation is dire, you will use your own equipment for free because you still need to
deliver.
You still need to deliver and you still need to smile. And when they ask you, how was it? You see, it was great because you're also managing relationships.
That's
and
true.
If I'm spending my money on your intellectual property and I want you to give me these grand shows, I will not give you another season if I feel like you can't manage the money.
That's true.
So sometimes you have to make those difficult decisions. Sometimes executives aren't getting paid. And this is something that a lot of people don't talk about, but it's not something I'm saying so that I live here and you're scared. Now you're looking at your stuff like, that's not the reason, but the situation does get to that point.
But I just want to, sorry to interject, but touch on this, because when you say execs are not getting paid, there's a line item for EPs, line item for producer, and also obviously there's the production fee. So sometimes just because now the EP does not get, the money that's allocated for the, production fee, they still get the EP, fee.
So I think we need to identify what we're really talking about here, and we need to separate the two. When we talk about a production fee, that's your markup. Remember, when I buy a cup of something somewhere, they charge me for what it costs to make it, and then they also get their portion out of it. The production fee is exactly that. That's your markup. The executive producer fee is not a markup. That's your salary for the duration of the production. Remember, in you bringing this thing to life, you had to do your own research and development. You had to do all of these things prior to getting this commission. No one paid you for all of these things. So that executive producer fee is you. Like you're like the CEO of the project. You need to get paid because this is your grand idea. You've brought it to life. You've had to run meetings. You've had to do all of these things. And, there's nothing for free. So you've incurred all these expenses. And now that you get here to the production, you get an executive producer fee. So those things are two different things. So it's easy to say, yeah, but you didn't get paid as an executive producer for 2 months, but you're getting your production fee. The production fee is not meant to cover the 2 months you did not get paid. That's not the purpose of the production fee. That's why even when you start working on a production, you remove it from the total amount because it does not form part of production. And executive producer fee, production accountant, financial controller, production manager, all of those things, those are production costs.
In fact, I'm assuming the production fee comes right at the tail end once you've completed everything.
So tail end, you might think, is you submitting 13 episodes of a particular season, whatever you've produced.
Yeah.
After you submitted all of those things, then comes this other process of archiving that needs to happen, where each and everything that's happened on set is put, onto a report, and these things are then submitted. Those things are submitted and they need to be reviewed thoroughly, because what then happens with the archive material is that later when they want to either rebroadcast the show or they want to take it to a different country, they need to get those files to make sure that they can do the correct dubbing and all of these other things that they do when they sell that season of drama or reality that you produced. So those things are just as important as the actual final product. So that can also take a while.
Yeah.
So you can't say, oh yeah, I'm an executive, my production is struggling, let me forego my salary, I'll get my production fee. It might come a year later. And no one can guarantee that you'll be alive past this weekend.
Man, I've heard some horrendous stories of producers losing their houses, losing their cars, having to sell, go live in a back room, and how does one get to that point?
Look, it's easy to get to that point because I don't think anyone starts doing business to starve or not to make a profit. The departure point is that I want to be epic at what I do. Yeah. And that's the general sentiments with creators. Everything they want is epic shit. That's all they ever want to do. But the management of you getting to that epic product at the end might be the reason that you end up in a situation where you're losing your house and all these bad things happen, right? It doesn't sit well with me to hear that a producer has lost their house or 1, 2, 3, it is happening to them. It's not a nice feeling, because I've worked past Endemol. I've only ever worked with one production company, one white production company. All the other people I've worked with, all black people.
And what's the difference?
The difference is you walk into the white company I walked into. They had a building. In that building, you go upstairs and there's your production staff, offices, financial manager, key personnel. To your right, you had edit suits.
Hmm.
You had final mix. You had recording booths. You had final mix studio. They had everything.
Everything.
They had everything.
Huh.
There was a gear room. There was a guy that was employed on a monthly salary. The only thing he did was look after gear.
Hmm.
Sometimes you walk in there and he's literally just brushing a lens. You know, she's just still the dust off, you know, preparing it for the next guys to come and shoot. And you realize that they already have structure. They already have the facilities. Where the money comes from, I can't tell.
That's true.
You know, but already everything is there. This is when you go into a black-owned production company. Sometimes they don't even have a body. So you think a camera is what you see on TV, the lenses, no. Camera body, you still have to buy the lens. And the lens aren't used for everything. You've got a wide, you've got a close-up, you know, all these things. Sometimes you work with black producers that have amazing ideas, but they don't even have a card reader. They have a laptop that's almost dying. You know, when you meet them, they say, yeah, I registered a business in 2010. And you're like, okay, well, let's go through your documents. This business has been deregistered.
It's
You know, they didn't pay their returns, their annual returns, you know, because no one sits them down and educates them on these things. I did a talk at Mapigo, Red Bull Film Festival in Bram a couple of years ago, long before COVID. And everyone had a MacBook. Everyone had a, we're having this conversation. Everyone had a MacBook. Everyone had Jordans. And then I asked, so have you guys registered your businesses? Some of your ideas are very unique. Have you tried to find out if this idea exists somewhere and try to patent this thing? They have it. And this speaks to lack of knowledge. Because I work in the finance department, it means I have to read some of these contracts. And when I started, I was getting bamboozled by some terms, you know, when they say things like, we are going to use it in perpetuity. I'm like, but in finance, perpetuity is forever.
Yeah.
How is this? So in other words, when I get the commission, my IP now belongs to the person that's giving you the commission, and they can use it in perpetuity. You could be starving somewhere.
And then they could be making
Yes.
$1 million a month.
But because you signed it over at that point in time, there's nothing you can do about it.
That brings me to another part of the conversation, which I was hoping we'd get to this point. You know, obviously, or let me start this off. So within my current project that I'm working on, I was speaking to the director, and he was telling me, do you know that 80%, between 60 to 80% of all Hollywood films currently are being financed by Chinese banks? Because Chinese banks have tapped into, you know, the rands and cents of it all in Hollywood, and they understand how profitable this business is in that space. But unfortunately, in this landscape, you know, it does not work like that. We don't really have strong financing bodies that invest in this business that will see a lucrative ROI. Instead, what we have is a commissioning system. Obviously, the streamers and the broadcasters put money and own the IP in perpetuity. My real question is, if we did have some kind of financing, some kind of, you know, more than just the NFVF, because I feel like the NFVF was a great initiative, but unfortunately, it can't handle the capacity. It's surfacing too many people. And to be honest with you, with all due respect to the vision, to the administrators, to the staff who are doing a phenomenal job, I've got some friends who are working there, but it does kind of create also a dependency on the system, you know, where we are unable to run our own institutions, companies, you know, to functional machines. Do you think if we had like some kind of funding system put in place, like private sector, do you think we would still be having a flourishing business?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Your question is a double-edged sword in that you are asking about production, but the problem doesn't actually sit in production. It sits with where we come from.
True.
Right. So let's look at our history as a people. When you go to the bank and you say, I have this idea, even if you're not doing production, you say, look, I want to sell coffee. I want to do all of these things. They say, no, cool. Give us a business plan. Do you have a business plan? More often than not, you don't.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. Let's say you have a business plan.
Mm.
You bring the business plan. They're like, oh, okay, cool. We love it. It's amazing. This thing can definitely work. But we need collateral. I like, I'm a 20-year-old, a 21-year-old. I don't own anything except what I have on as we speak. You know, they say, maybe you need to go back home, get someone with the property to sign a surety for you, and then as a black person,
No,
do you think your mother
no bite.
put her hard-earned property? You know, the houses we grew up in are households of pride.
That's
This is the best our parents could do. They will not risk money on you and your grand idea. And not because they don't want to. You also need to understand that black parents do not know of this thing.
true.
This is something new to them. So I don't blame black parents saying, no, I'm not going to sign a surety because I could lose my house if your things goes titties up. I don't blame them.
And I know you don't make your bed, you don't wash the dishes. How can you take over production?
Exactly. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
On the other hand, let's say we did have that, right? It also means that you need to have the tools to manage it. What I find interesting with our people is that, let me get a simple example. Before you bought your first car, you went to the driving school, you got your license, you got your learners, you got your license in preparation to buy a car. In business, if you've not gotten your license, you've not gotten your learners, and then you get the car. That means you can't drive. That then takes us back to what we are being taught at school. I'm drawing a locust. I'm not being taught about finance. I'm not being taught about my real history, for example. So even when I'm in the real world, I don't feel like I deserve a lot of these things that I have in my head. A lot of us black kids had these grand ideas in our head.
Grand.
The cars that we saw, was like, I'll drive this car. And then you grew up and you're like, but I maybe I don't deserve this thing, you know.
Don't you find it amazing with a lot of friends? Some friends you had were like real big dreamers. And when you see them now, you're like, what about like, I see, we don't go beside her.
Yeah.
You know, I like.
I watched a video of Asian kids building a robot, right? And that speaks to what they are being taught, because they're looking into the future and what the world is going to look like in a couple of years, you know, in a few decades. And I started thinking to myself, what if we taught these things from primary school? The fact that you have a kid you've never heard of, right? You watch a movie and you think to yourself, this is an amazing song. It's an amazing score. Never heard this before. You try to Shazam it. It gives you the artist. And you're like, where did they learn this? You know, we don't have an educational system that allows us to think outside the box. We are being taught to be good employees, not to be good businessmen and women. So by the time we want to go into the industry and do whatever it is that we want to do, we are also negotiating from a hunger departure point, which is not a good place to negotiate from, you know. So it means that even if today ABSA Nedbank said, we will fund movies, we will do all of these things, it means they have to trust you with their money. But you have not gotten your learner's license, you don't have your driving license, and they give you a car, you are more likely going to crash that vehicle. So for me, money isn't the quick solution. It is in us teaching the kids what needs to happen in the arts.
Do you think there's a gap within the marketplace, within the space, for training of young, aspiring film and television entrepreneurs? You know, because I think there's we're not kind of correlating what happens on the field with what the young people are learning at school. And I find most ambitious young filmmakers are unable to survive, you know, the tides of business when they eventually do try and register a company and it's not functional. So do you think over and above what happens in the actual institutions, there might be a gap for focusing on empowering young entrepreneurs, young filmmakers?
Definitely. And it's not just young filmmakers, it's just young entertainment people. I mean, you've seen what the youngins have done. They've literally proven to us that content is king, right? Whether it be skits that they do, the music that they produce, everything right now is based on what the youngins are doing. But what's a disservice to them is that by the time they leave their schooling, and when I say that, I'm making the assumption that they're not going to tertiary level. By the time they leave matric, they don't really know what they want to do, number one. Number two, have we really truly equipped someone by telling them that they can pass with 30%? If I gave you now 10 million and I said, go produce this thing, you're giving it to someone that has had the bar lowered so much for them to pass that they will not cope with what's really happening in the industry or in life in general. So we need to relook at the way we teach, what we teach. Some people said, there's a podcast I really like, Ntate Mashabel. He's had a couple of actors on there, and a lot of them complain that it's almost as though we've forgotten that this thing is part of our culture. Whether it's someone playing drums, doing these sketches, or everything basically is something that we've lost, which was part of our culture. And even when you look at plays that used to happen in the olden days, it's not the same like what used to happen in the Market Theatre. It's not the same. Funny enough, I've never been to the Market Theatre. I know it is, but I've never watched the show. But from the podcast I've listened to or watched, a lot of them have come from there.
Yeah, me too. I'm from the Market Theatre Lab.
Like, one of my favorite actors, Ntate Hamilton.
Yes, Mantosh.
When he then talks about some of the work that he's like, no, we did on Hosa Albert, and you're like, what is this Hosa Albert? And you realize then that there's a huge part of our history that's forgotten. We've taken it and we've shelved it, we've archived it, and no one cares about it, and no one cares to actually teach those kids about it. So we really need to look at where the world is going. Because like Trevor Noah says, the world goes there and we constantly go there. But now that we know that content is king, are we helping these kids understand that you can monetize this thing?
Yeah.
We are not.
We're not.
So that's why you find that sninging, some kid has your number, you met at an event or at a gig, and he just sends you a WhatsApp, sure. Who's this? The next thing you know, Wavefire, you play, it's a song. And sometimes you play the song, you're like, it's actually a dope song.
Yeah,
sure. But what has he done? He's taking his IP and
he just gives it like that. He does not know.
He does not know. Even if you say to him IP, he doesn't know that that's intellectual property. So we need to start teaching these type of things. And these type of things, sit with law?
Yeah. Get law.
Then let's bring it in. Because we can see that the kids are struggling. We can see that the kids are very talented. They give us some of the best songs, best kids, and then they wake up 2 years down the line. Excuse me, Maka's never paid me for that thing.
So, and now we thought you were the hottest guy.
Yeah.
Do
you get what I mean? Someone saying, no, I drew something on a page and someone saw it and they copied it. But don't a copywriter. Like, this is your thing. On the idea, let's make sure we know that this is a Karabo idea, so that if anyone tries to do it somewhere else, they have to come and give you some money.
This is the conversation that I usually have with people who are now colleagues and we used to be classmates, and also some colleagues who I met who've gone to film schools. I know there's a producer, and she was like, actually, what I learned in varsity, I could have learned, while doing the job. Or with us who come from theatre school, there's so many misconceptions. Like, we came from like old school lecturers who were like so anti-social media, so anti the influencer, kind of wave. And that kept a lot of us, behind. And you see it when you're on set. I mean, let's be honest. Influencers are being they're being hired because they can bring in those ratings. And some of these kids are actually nice people. and I speak to them, I don't really care. But I see how like my generation, the thespians, are kind of looking at the influencers, and the influencers are like, well, we smarter than you. We could GPO the system. And the thing is, that if with good education, we could find a wonderful balance between the two.
That's exactly what Ndate Hamilton said on the podcast I watched. The issue now that you're facing is that I'm investing my money. I need to get a return on my investment. So now you can't tell me that I need to wait a certain period of time in order to gain that money back. Whereas I've got a cast that has 1 million following each that could easily ensure that my show is successful. So that's why you'll find that a lot of these influencers are being casted on shows. They are featuring on reality shows. And you also need to understand the fact that we are not in the olden days. Things will keep changing. Look at what's happening with genre Yamapian. What's happened? You had Mahrodman doing a particular genre, but then the young ones couldn't really get into the genre, and then they found their voice in Mapian. So this is what's happening now with TV. You find that the influencers are the Mapiano field, right? But what you then realize is that somehow they lose their ways because they're also not learned in this art versus someone that's been in this business for decades, right? So what you then need, you need that mixture. However, that mixture comes with man, because I can understand how a thespian would feel that an influencer is on the show, is probably playing lead because she has a huge following and is getting, for example, I'm not saying this happens, she's getting R1 million, and I'm someone with...
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
We always get millions.
I have skin in the game. I'm playing supporting lead, and I'm told, Gaya 5,000 a call.
Okay.
Do you get what I mean? The differences then start show when the influencer rocks up in a Range Rover, for example, and the thespian rocks up in a Tez. When we go back home, the thespian offering, so with the influencer goes. And don't get me wrong, I am not saying that the influencers don't deserve this thing. To wake up, take videos, do all of these things, whether you like it or not. It's value. And you forget that these very influencers are unemployed youth. They're not just trying to make a buck so that they can, eat at the end of the day. So it's also unfair to then say, yeah, but we shouldn't have these kids here. It's not a fair thing. You need to bring them in. If anything, say to them, listen, we want to do a production which is going to end next year. Not a production that is in a month. No, there's a production we're going to do. It is in a year. We are bringing Tate Hamilton to play supporting lead. We want you to learn from him before we start shooting this thing. So learn, get the skill from him, and then by the time we shoot this thing, Tate Hamilton has earned some money, in coaching these kids and getting them up to standard. Because whether you like it or not, they are working. But sometimes you've seen on the show, like, this person is not an actor, this is not an actress. This thing is not working. But when you look at who they've been paired with, they've been paired with amazing talent, So you need to then start looking at a production and respecting it more. We need to get out of this situation where we're shooting now for now.
Yeah.
If you look at some of the movies that we love so much, for Bad Boys, how long do they shoot those movies for? How long do they edit those movies? We want to shoot a month, edit with it next month, 2 months, have it on.
But let's be honest, it's not us. It's those who eventually own the IP in perpetuity.
Yeah, but I can argue and say, yeah, it's them. But at the same time, they are forced because they've given Marcus a budget, and because he didn't have the license, he crashed that vehicle. He can't deliver the episodes that are required. And now they run to Karabo and they say, yo, listen, we have a slate we need to fill quickly. Can you shoot? Do you get what I mean? So it would be nice to just take the blame and put it on someone.
Yeah.
Put it on the institution. But we also need to look within and say, what are the things we are getting wrong? How can we improve us so that we can go negotiate better?
True.
But if you've not done that introspection and you go there, they'll give you another 12 million. and you'll squander it again.
Last question. Now, tell me this. How do you manage the financial health of a production company? Like, how does a production company actually ensure that they stay afloat?
So you need to separate the two, production company and production. You need to separate the two. So you need to understand that I'm a business, and a business needs to thrive. The only way a business can thrive is if you are hitting your internal rate of return. What's your internal rate of return? It is the return you look for before you invest a rand in anything. So if I say for every rand I spend, I need to get 120, that means my markup is 20%. My return on investment that I expect is 20%. So that means I need to get the finances so that I can invest in the value chain and forget the production for now. Just focus on being a business like any other business, not necessarily a production business, but be a business. Diversify. It would be nice if I could say that, look, I have a production company and I've got 12 productions running, whether it be concurrently or I've got 2 now, 2 later, yada, 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 you know. But the reality is that you have to pitch. Someone has to like your idea and. So when you're not pitching, what are you doing? You should be, right now there's elections that are coming up. If you're a production company and don't have a production, you should be running with the production, with the politicians. Everywhere they go, they need a camera. They need to report back as to, oh no, we gave someone a house. Oh, you know, we unblocked the drain. But as a business, if you don't look at it that way, you are going to suffer in the long run, because all you'll ever wait for is the commissions to come in. When there are no commissions, you'll go hungry. When there's a commission, you'll be okay. So you need to look after the business health, and also look out for your statutory requirements, making sure that you comply with SARS and all of those things. So that's where you need to look at, that's how you need to look at your business. Then when you have that figured out, it also means that your executives can sit and come up with ideas. If your executives are sitting with you on a production every day, it means they're not sitting somewhere and planning how to move forward and planning on new shows. That means as a finance person, you failed to make sure that these people don't have to worry about where their next meal or next salary is going to come from. That also means that when you have a show or two and your production fee comes in, we are not going to Dubai. It means you need to sit down and say, look, we have X amount of money. If you keep this in this investment account, it'll give you this much interest. That means you can pull a salary for 8 months, for example. That's what you need to do. You do that, preferably, look, a year to 2 years. I mean, I don't know of anyone that says, look, I'm a guaranteed salary for 2 years. But look, if you have some money, you say, look, this is how we're going to work around this thing. You know, for the next year, these are your salaries. Whether or not you're producing a show, these are your salaries. We have them in the bank there. There you go. That means they don't have to worry so much. That means their creative juices are running. And that means they can get more and more and more commission. And even if they're not getting commissions, but they're also getting involved in marketing campaigns that they shoot and all of these other things. That's what you need to do. Once that's done, you can then start looking for people to come join your business when there's a production. And you also need to be realistic about the people you bring into your business. I worked for a company that loved keeping people on a long-term basis, which is a great idea because it preserves the certain je ne sais quoi of your final product. But the reality is that when there's a break in production, let's say 2 to 3 months, you're not producing, you can't afford to keep those people. So you also need to structure your contract such that they understand that in as much as I'd like to keep you longer, but you're here for the duration of this production. If we sign another contract during that period, we will keep you and then you'll move into the next production. That's how you need to look at it. Get your emotions out of it, because I myself, don't like to have to sit down with someone and say, I know that, guys, it's been great, rap party, we'll call you whenever. Do you know what I mean? It's not a nice feeling. But the reality of the business is that, the budgets are just enough to make sure that you deliver the final product. So that means once you deliver, you have to let people go. and then the next one comes in, you bring them back in. What then happens is that by the time you try to bring them back in, some of them have taken jobs elsewhere. So now you are struggling with bringing back that certain je ne sais quoi. That means now the executives need to be on set, they're doing this. So that means now you've pulled them away from planning the future, planning on new shows and all of those things. So it's not a production business. It is a business.
It's a business. It's a business. Love it. Crazy, 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 crazy world in which we've taken on, but such is the joy. Now, we are now going to the more exciting part of our show, which is the game segment. Now, the name of the game is called Complete the Sentence. Essentially, I give you an incomplete statement and you complete it as best as you can. Very simple. Don't worry, there's no right or wrong. You'll be fine. So first one, the last show I binged watched is...
Gentlemen's on Netflix.
Oh, wow. Some good taste.
Yeah. It's amazing. That show is weird. So I'm watching this show. And remember, I'm the finance guy in the business. Did I not go to work the following day, start telling creatives about, you should make the camera like this. Did you see the scene here? I was like, it's such an amazing show. I love the storyline, how it's shot, and how people start off with great intentions and it just ends the way it does. Yeah, so loving that show.
Okay. If I was a movie character, I would be...
I'd play Thanos.
Thanos?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanos.
And Thanos was on...
Avengers.
Avengers.
Oh yeah, he collected all the stones.
Oh yeah.
Beat everybody up.
Okay, the one superpower I wish filmmakers had would be...
Business acumen.
Man. That's why we started the show in the first place. Yeah. Next one is the best movie of all time is...
Best movie of all time is Dune.
Oh wow, okay, you got good taste.
Yeah, Dune actually, yeah. No, like I'm really fucking with that movie.
Yeah,
I know. And I'm glad they now serve mojitos at cinema. Yeah, I'm really loving it. But at the same time, Avengers, I fuss with that. Or is it called The Inglourious Basterds?
Inglourious Basterds. That's
what?
with Al Pacino.
No, Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Oh, snap, with Al Pacino.
Heat.
Yeah. I used to watch that movie.
Yeah. Yeah. You said they serve mojitos at cinemas?
Yeah, you said mojitos.
Which cinema is that?
New Metro, Clearwater.
Oh.
Yeah, you just go in there, you get your tickets, your popcorn,
You need
order some drinks.
Okay, well, New Metro, we're coming. Okay, and the most important element of a successful TV show is?
First 20 seconds needs to capture you.
Yes. There we go.
That's all you need.
There we go.
Yeah, I mean, look at Game of Thrones. First couple of minutes, someone's head was flying. It was going down. And now we needed to understand why. And it kept us glued. I mean, the last season, how long did we have to wait for that? And people like me have an addictive personality.
Yeah.
So I hated the fact that I must watch one episode and wait. So I would just not read anything about it. I don't
Wait
until about it. Wait until there's at least 4.
Yeah.
And then on a Sunday,
Yeah.
I just cut them all out.
Yes, like it. I'm glad you've got an attention span that can focus for that. No.
I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Also, I'm a boring guy.
Okay. You don't look boring, man. Look at your tattoos. I don't even have one tattoo, right?
Oh, man, tattoos just represent a particular time in your life. Something was happening. Yeah.
I like. If I could remake any classic film, which one would it would be?
But they already remade it.
Okay, film.
Kichu.
Oh, okay. What's the second? The sequel.
No, they actually. So what's a remake? June is a book that was written, I don't know when. But I think the first movie called Dune was done in the 90s.
My goodness.
Yeah, it was somewhere there. Someone, you must check it out. Because when I went looking for it, that's how I discovered that there's actually an old
Version.
Dune with the yellow cover.
I haven't seen Dune before. I should definitely.
Yeah, you should check it out. So they
Really?
remake.
Basta.
Yeah, alternatively, which other one? Yeah. They should make Heat. They should remake Heat.
Heat, ne?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those guys.
Yeah, no, good choice. Okay. Okay. An underrated actor / actress who deserves more recognition is?
Now that you asked me that question, I have to change the other one about which was the best movie ever made.
Okay.
It is Sicario.
No one.
Gee, you don't know Sicario?
No.
You need to watch both of them.
Okay.
Amazing movie.
Oh, wow.
In there,
Mm.
there's a guy, I forget this guy's name. He's also on, there's a movie called The Usual Suspects.
Oh, yes.
There's the white guy, Kevin Spacey. Is it
Kevin Spacey, yes.
Then there's another guy with the hair.
Yes, I saw that movie long. I remember the poster. They've got these guys,
This guy's, yeah.
taking a mugshot. So
With the lazy eyes.
yeah.
The guy with the lazy eyes.
Oh yes, I see that guy.
You should watch what he does on Sicario. Amazing.
Okay.
And geez, man, that movie, it's such an old movie. The sequel came out not so long ago, but man. In fact, when I get home, I'm gonna watch Sicario.
Please. Oh, okay.
That's how
Yeah.
good that movie is.
Oh, where do I find them?
I think they have it on Showmax.
We'll check it out definitely.
Most of the stuff that I can't find on the other platforms, I normally find on Showmax because Showmax is, I think, most underrated
Oh, definitely.
streaming service right now.
Oh no, definitely.
Yeah.
Apparently,
Even June was
Yeah.
on
on Showmax.
Showmax. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that. Apparently, Showmax has beaten Netflix and is the most subscribed streamer in Africa.
I'm happy about that because it means people we know get to keep their jobs.
true.
You know, so I, for some weird reason, I said this to someone and they didn't believe me. And then they had to watch June because June 2 was coming out. They found it on Showmax.
Showmax.
But when I referred someone to Showmax, they came back and they said, no, actually, it's no longer on there. Their license had expired, so it's moved on to another. But I know that the Showmax library
Yeah.
is
big.
epic.
And now there's a Canal Plus takeover that's happening, and Patrice Motsepe is stepping in as a possible BE partner because, there's so many regulations in terms of
Yeah.
foreign investors. So we hope people won't be losing their jobs, and it's going to mean more content, more work, And
No, I find that very interesting,
Yeah.
especially with us South Africans.
yeah,
Sithanda ukubonwa, man.
yeah, it's true.
Sithanda ukubonwa, and we would rather adhere to what everyone else is doing rather than protect our own business. In as much as someone can argue with me and say, but yeah, that's not your business. Yeah, sure, it's not my business, but how many people does it employ?
Yeah.
The stats, I don't know if they've changed, but the stats were that one salary is carrying about 8 people in this country. So if someone loses their job, it means 8 people are affected. So I really wouldn't want to see a lot more options coming into our economy at this point in time. In as much as you can argue and say they might bring jobs, but I'm like looking at what Netflix has done. I know a couple of people that I've worked with that are now working at Netflix, but I'm not talking about 1,000 people. I'm talking about, 6-7 people that I know personally, versus Mnet, MultiChoice, Showmax, where I know a lot of people, that are there. So I'd really like to see that streaming service grow. And I'd also like to see just DSTV, find its way, pivot in time so that it remains as the powerhouse that it is. And not because
Not because of that at all.
not because of that, but because there is a greater good that comes with having your own businesses in this country, not always relying on people from up.
And I think if there's anyone who's able to tie, because a lot of the conversations I have with my guests and who have like the same philosophical outlook as you do, which is essentially, a spice up of Pan-Africanism and a sense of, self-pride. They say, we have not tapped into the actual market potential that we have, which is about 1 billion people.
Yeah.
And I think if there's anyone who's well positioned, it should be, MultiChoice, who can weave the stories amongst, these billion people. Yeah, because they know the
No,
territory.
definitely. I mean, why is it that every big company wants to start in South Africa?
Yeah, we are the mouthpiece.
Exactly.
Yeah, we are the mouthpiece.
It's exactly that. They all want to start here and then go up.
Now we've introduced a small mini segment. It's called Put Them On. Basically, I mean, putting someone on means highlighting an upcoming filmmaker in whatever capacity. Someone that you think we should check out. Anyone within the ecosystem, whether it's with crew, cast, whatever. Since you mentor filmmakers and you're in that space where you give guidance to the young people. Do you have any 1 or 2 people that we should be on the lookout for?
There's a lady that we do a lot of work with. Her name is Tisetso. But I think people know her, man, by now. But she does amazing work.
Tisetso?
The Gifted African is the name of her business.
Okay.
Because I work in that department, I know people buy business things. Yeah, that's my problem. Yeah.
So what does the company do?
She's a DOP.
Oh, wonderful.
She's amazing.
And we don't get many female DOPs, eh?
No, we don't.
Yeah.
And then there's a guy by the name of Mikey Adams. I suggested him for a recent production I worked on, or rather consulted on, and they loved him. He's someone that we worked with since season 1 of Being Bonang.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he came through by a guy by the name of Ryan Ace. Amazing gents, DOPs. There's a writer. His name is Tulani Mahlangu. Yeah, I think it's Tulani Mahlangu. He's the original creator of Killer Front Page. That's currently on Mzansi on Sundays.
Led by Lemogan Tsipa.
Yes.
Of Shaka Lembe.
Yeah. He's an amazing writer. Dark humor sometimes, but yeah, he's an amazing writer. And just great guy and creative. Yeah.
Last question I want to know. Difference between reality and narrative from an accountant's point of view. What's the difference between those two?
I can't give you an accounting answer for that. Reality is you are following Karabo. I'm a boring guy. I wake up on a Saturday. I go to gym. I come back, listen to some music and clean. That's my reality. Sometimes I'm with my kid and that's that, that's my reality. But narrative, that's when there is a story behind it. So I'm trying to tell you about a soldier, so you will narrate and you'll give direction in a particular direction. Whereas with reality, you can't give direction. You can't say to me, play with your kid like this.
But Karabo, I've seen some of these realities, eh? They look like a story to me.
Remember, when you shoot a reality, you still need to capture the people that you think follow the personality.
Yeah.
So I can't shoot a reality at December and then want to give it to you at June, and the opening sequence, the opening scene of that reality is me decorating Christmas tree. It also goes with what's happening in your life. The controversy is what we are chasing.
But isn't it cooked up, Nyana?
I wouldn't say
now what's our take?
No, you can't. No, you can't. Then you're asking me to talk in a particular way. I can't. But what I can say is, listen, I understand that you want to for example. But you can't just decide or get some twice. So before Tamaya, we know there's an issue between you and your parents. So we'll set up a day and say, you need to go tell your dad where you're going. That, but not that we'll say, how so
you don't control the dialogue.
You don't. And that's why sometimes you find that things get out of hand in a reality set, because emotions are emotions. You can't control them, So you can create a conducive environment for this person to live out their reality.
Wonderful. Karabo, man, I've had such a joy interviewing you. There's so many insights that you have about the whole, fabric of what holds this business, which is the finance and the ops. And what we have witnessed this past hour or so is just a genius, a mastermind, someone who's mastered the craft of financing, give us nuggets of what it takes to operate a company. You've turned around businesses, you've made dreams come true, you've helped entrepreneurs stay in business. And for that, I salute you and I take my hat off. And I want to just say, may your path be lightened and may your doors be opened and may you bless many more lives.
Thank you. And I receive to many, many, many more.
Yeah.
And also to many more of these episodes. I watched the Bongo one. Yeah, we wanted him for something, but I'm sure we can't afford him now. But
okay, you want to know?
Yeah, I'm sure.
It was to know.
But look, thank you so much. I just wish we could impart more and more of this knowledge to the people that are upcoming and people that are already in the industry, so that they understand that it's not the entertainment business. It is their businesses. These are their businesses that are coming here and giving us this epic content. And, the way to monetize everything that they do, their talents, is something I'm always willing to get involved in and help wherever I can. I just also hope that they also listen.
Definitely.
Yeah. Even if it's just one or two, but I just hope they also listen.
Trust me, they will.
Yeah.
Thank you.